Call the November 1st meeting of the Health, Education, and Housing Facilities Board of the City of Chattanooga, Tennessee to order. Chair would like to confirm that the meeting has been properly advertised and we do have a quorum present.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, good, thank you. We have a couple of things today. The first is the election of a vice chair. I think the individual who was the vice chair has is no longer on the board, so we have the position of vice chair. Normally, this position would be elected in July, is that correct? On an annual basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this would be, would fulfill the unexpired term of vice chairman until we come to annual elections next July, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Floor is open for nominations for the position of vice chair.
I wonder if there's anybody that would like to do it. Might make it easier.
Speak up.
Well, if it pleases this board, I would like to roll to vice chair and off of secretary, just because I have some other obligations going on right now. I'm still like to be engaged in the board, and I would still like to be on the board, and I would be flattered and appreciative to serve as vice chair.
Motion.
Second.
There we go.
Well, like you did.
I didn't know that train was on a downhill roll. We have a proper motion and a second discussion. Otherwise, you're gonna have to defend yourself in a position, so. Okay. All in favor of Mr. Johnson, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, congratulations.
Thank you for your confidence.
Yeah, we'll double your pay and move you to the top parking spot. Okay?
And I want my city car and all that.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
But you now have a vacancy as the secretary.
That's right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, we could do that, can we do that without, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, Richard has been serving as secretary. The glory part is you put your name on the documents. The sad part is you wear out all of Maria's pens. And she's got to where she brings my favorite pens to Bic, and after about 3 meetings, we use them all up. So, I think that all joking aside, it's important, you don't have to read the documents because they're prepared by the city, but it does show that someone besides myself and the office are doing it. So it's more of a ceremonial position. They take the minutes. So I'd like to open the floor for nominations for secretary.
Baby, what? Any do want that?
I think we're blessed that we have 4 senior members that would do a great job, and I will say this, Maria makes this she's so organized about everything.
Amazing.
It's a treat to work with her. I mean, she really has everything laid out for you each and every time. So I wouldn't be daunted by the term secretary, and
Nope.
I think any of you, if you're interested, step up. I mean, we need someone, and you get to work with Maria regularly, so it's actually fun. It's a fun position.
And I will say this, I've said it before, I do think that rotation of these positions is healthy. You don't have to understand, as I was telling Malcolm, you don't have to understand the inner workings of pilots or bond issues. They walk you through it. So I think it's more that we're representing the community and we're learning together, where you've been here, twice or for years or new. I think it's an opportunity for us to share. So don't be afraid to step up, and none of the positions honestly take much time outside of the board meetings.
I think sometimes I'm not available to be here, so I don't wanna be in a position and then I'm not available to be here. So that's why I'm not raising my hand.
Okay,
The practice of law is
The
difficult.
practice of law and the inflatable company keeps my hands.
okay. And I honestly, I appreciate that. I think it's better to say what you can and can't do. And we all have different amounts of time, so we appreciate your legal perspective and your heart perspective on the role you play, so that's great.
Yeah, for me, I don't think it's something that I'm prepared to do just yet. Might reconsider come July.
I'd be happy to do it, and I'm available.
There we go.
But I feel like I'm still kind of a newer member, so I don't, some of you who have served a little longer than I have, might.
We need some fresh eyes, we don't mind that.
My eyes, I can't even see.
It looks like you see real good.
I'm happy to do it.
Motion.
Okay,
Yeah, the most important thing is making sure that you don't let him sign everything without anyone else seeing it.
Well, I objected to his comments, but I didn't want to say anything. It's okay, just do it, you don't have to read the document. I was thinking, well,
probably I shouldn't have said that.
probably shouldn't put that in the minutes.
Okay, we have a second to Mr. Wells.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, sir. We'll give you the
Now the
honorary.
time for the speech?
Yeah, we'll give you your own honorary Bic pen for 19 cents. I wonder what they are now. They used to be 19 cents. I bet it's about $1.50 probably.
I'm sure inflation is,
Yeah.
definitely seen.
Okay.
I want to just watch.
Thank you all for stepping up.
They start trying to do that.
The next item of business is the approval of the September 16th monthly meeting minutes. Those, I believe, have been sent to you. Anybody, the chair would entertain a motion for discussion purposes.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of voting on the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion approved, so the minutes of the 16th are approved. As we do at each board meeting, we allow community people, which we encourage very much, to speak. And so anyone who would like to address the board at this time, we allow each individual 3 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board from the community? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Our next item is a final resolution authorizing issuance of not to exceed $35 million in Health, Education, and Housing Facility Board of the City of Chattanooga, Tennessee, multi-housing revenue bonds for One West Side Phase 1B project, Series 2024. So this is a resolution on a bond issue for the One West Side Phase 1B project. Yes, sir.
Just one, this is the issue that we've been trying to get everybody together for on here, because this project is a bond issuance that will provide a lot of multi-family housing here. This has been an issue that has been at least discussed quite heavily in the city here about an area which has been an area of project development that's going to be completely redone at this point based upon these bond issuances going on. Mr. Moneyhund from Knoxville is down here today to at least try to make sure this gets accomplished so that they can actually issue those bonds here for $35 million. And that's why we're having this hearing today. Jay, you got anything more to tell them about the project?
Yeah, thank you to everyone for getting together today. I'm Jay Moneyhun, I'm with Bassberry and Sims, and we're serving as bond counsel for this project. Have Jim Grawley here with Columbia Residential, they're serving as the developer and the sponsor of the project's Oak Ridge Housing Authority. This is a very big project, it's been in the works for a long time, and so we're now finally at the final stage. Hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be able to close the bonds. The financing structure, initially the bonds will be issued $35 million. The bonds will be cash collateralized with the proceeds of a construction loan from Truist Bank. And because they're cash collateralized, they have a very high rating, usually AA+, because they're actually collateralized with those proceeds. Once construction is complete, the bond issuance will convert to a tax-exempt loan private placement with Grandbridge, who's a Freddie lender. And for the permanent phase, it'll be a tax-exempt loan where the payments will be made to the lender.
When is the bond sale going on for this as well?
On sale,
Can I speak for that?
yes.
Thank you. Jim Crawley, Columbia Residential. We're partners with the Chattanooga Housing Authority on this. We are actually required by the state of Tennessee to close the bonds. We've asked, as we've been working on getting this meeting, we've asked them for a couple of extensions. So they want us to close the bonds. We are actually closing the bonds, cash collateralize them, as Jay said, hopefully the week of November 11th. They're planning after this meeting to do the marketing of the bonds next week. Hopefully it won't be too crazy with it being election week. And then we'll close at that point, and then we'll close the rest of the financing, which is multiple sources, Truist, the Grandbridge permanent, and Freddie Mac permanent, and then a number of other sources into the project. We're closing that. We're anticipating in January or possibly early February. We're actually made, since we spoke to you and you gave an inducement, which we greatly appreciated, that helped us get the allocation of bonds and tax credits from the state of Tennessee. And we've made tremendous progress since then. We have all of our financing commitments lined up. And so that's why we feel comfortable closing the bonds now, and then the remainder of the financing will close in February.
Okay.
And I'd be glad to answer other questions, but that's the quick answer on that.
And this is the largest number of emails and documents I think I have ever seen on a project here going back and forth. So we're glad to get you to the.
Roughly, how many units are involved in this?
This bond issue will support 166 new homes, and then this is a unique structure that's the first time it's being done in Tennessee, where there's also a separate 9% tax credit financing that's 64 additional. So the community will look and feel and be built as 230 new homes, and 166 are financed with the bonds, and then 64 with a separate capital structure. And 40% of those units will be reserved for residents moving from the existing College Hill into it. The remainder will be mixed income at various levels of affordability, 60% of AMI, 80% of AMI, and some of it that is at unrestricted market. And that's the goals from the master plan. It's very important we're building this large phase so we can get a good start on providing new homes for the folks who live at College Hill.
Okay. So roughly 60–80% of the AMI is target for a considerable number of these.
For a number of them, yes, there are, the 40% that are for the College Hill residents are at 40% of AMI and below, and then there's a tranche that's at 60, a tranche that's 80%, and then there's a tranche that's unrestricted.
Okay, so it's kind of a tiered thing.
There's 4 different tiers of housing.
But the 40% for College Hill really gets to what I say, the most needy people, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and that is directly reserved for, the idea here in the whole master plan is a build first plan, and so that allows people to move once from College Hill. There's no demolition of existing housing related to this phase, so they have the opportunity to move into that new housing. People will be given choices. They can make their choice to live there or live elsewhere, and then we're planning to build a second phase before the first phase of housing is vacated and demolished
Okay,
for the old College Hill.
great. Questions?
And Mr. Barrett has just gotten in here as well. Mr. Barrett, you've been seeing all these emails we've had on this
Yes,
project,
yes,
so
sir.
we've had a lot. So.
And yeah, just like any other bond issue, housing deal that we've done through this board, they'll be totally non-recourse to the board.
Yes.
And the borrower will indemnify the board for all obligations, even though you may sign as secretary and chairman, they default, you don't have to pay the difference, so.
There is no personal liability in regard to your position, so.
Wouldn't matter.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Chair, I do have one question, please. This is for Mr. Grawley or Mr. Moneyhan. It may be more of a development question, but individuals that may qualify for below AMI housing, how will they apply for?
Yes. Well, we're planning to close at the latest February, and then we would plan to open up in September of '26. That's the target date. And so what we would do is, well before that, start to market the property. And so there's a specific set aside for the residents from College Hill, but for the rest of it, it's open to the marketplace. So people will apply. If they want to apply for one of the income restricted units, they have to qualify based on their income levels and household size. And then for the market units, there's the most straightforward. They're applying like they would at any location for apartments. And so we usually start that process several months ahead of time. One of the things that's great here is that you may be familiar with, since we met, the overall development, the City of Chattanooga and the Chattanooga Housing Authority in this development were awarded a Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant, which is a really big deal for several reasons, not the least of which is the funding to that grant itself, but then it also leverages many other things. And so part of that is that there is a service provider who's already on board after that grant that works with the families from College Hill on here's how you can get ready for this. The goal is to lift people's lives and help them towards self-sufficiency and what their goals are. And so part of that is the housing. So they both work with them on their economics and self-sufficiency programs and things that they can improve their lives with, and help them with the relocation and counseling as to here's what this new housing is going to be, here's what your opportunity is, and so they're going to be working side by side with us.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Are there any other documents you need from us other than this resolution? I guess that's one thing.
Resolution to be approved, and then I have signature pages for the document.
Okay.
I have one question, and it may not be, you can correct me. The 40% that is reserved to College Hills residents, let's just say that 40%, that a number of the College Hill residents choose to stay where they are. So the 40% that you reserved after the marketing period of time to them, let's just say that say you give them a 6-week window and they choose, some people choose not. So let's just say then the 40% is 60 units. At what level do those 60 units go out? In other words, and here's, before you answer, I want to tell you why I'm asking the question. Without getting into a long dissertation, this board has recognized and has sent a communication to the city recognizing that the AMI in Chattanooga has crept up. And several of us are concerned that there are individuals who, because of their income, can't afford the most financially, I don't want to say the cheapest rate, but the lowest level of participation. Could those additional ones be held at a level that some of the College Hill residents are at, even though they wouldn't be there? Or so my question is, I'm trying to sustain I mean, we want to give people a choice, but I think a number of us on this board have been very vocal about our concern for affordable housing for the people who can least afford it. So that's where my question comes from.
Sure. Well, it's a great question, very, very apropos. I think that, a couple things. One is the 40% of the units throughout the development, on the 230, it's 92 total. Those are public housing units. So they are, the way residents pay for those is they pay based on 30% of their income for rent and utilities. So there's what's called a utility allowance that's applied that reduces their rent based on the projected utility costs, and then their rent is based on 30% of your income. So if your income is $1,000 a month, that's a maximum of $300 a month.
Correct.
And so that is permanently affordable through several mechanisms. One is the state of Tennessee, we sign a land use restriction covenant that says those units will be for 30 years of the tax credit period will be that way. Secondly, the housing authority owns the ground underneath it, and the housing authority is providing a rental subsidy to those residents. So the intent is those to be permanently affordable at that level. So if you have that, what's happened is the AMI goes up, and the costs go up, those residents are not impacted, they're impacted by what their own income is.
Right.
Now, if they're families and they're helped through the programming and things like that, and their income goes up, their rent would go up, but it would go up still inside that 30%.
Okay, so,
I don't know if I answered.
well, let me, and I'm not sure I asked it correctly, I understood what you said. I think what I was taken off on was those 40% were reserved for College Hill residents. And I think what you said, and you correct me, is that they're reserved for people placed by the housing authority. So if, pick on Richard, if Richard is not in College Hill, but the
Yeah.
point in time that those open up,
Yeah.
and the 40% is not taken, based on his income through the housing authority, he can access some of those units.
Yes, those units are permanently set aside with
Okay.
30% income for people who
Okay.
qualify for public housing
up on that.
programming and who are at or below 40% of the area median
Okay.
income. That is permanent. What is in place is because there is existing housing, there's a priority. So there's 497 apartments
Right.
out there that if we ran through all those, so if the first group of people are not moving there, you go to the next and next, but eventually you'll run through them, at which point it's an open waiting list for the housing
So,
authority.
but those units would not convert to
They
a
do not.
different status, that was my
There's no
point.
conversion.
Okay, okay,
Question,
yes, ma'am.
right along with the same train of thought you were thinking. So let's say apples to apples. Everybody that lives in the west side area right now, will they be able to say if they choose to stay, have the same opportunity to move into this new area? The exact same number of people there versus moving into the next phase of you all's project?
Yes, two things are in play. One is that the master plan replaces all 497 apartments at College Hill with similarly structured apartments that are public housing units at that 30% of your income with a rental subsidy that allows folks to stay there. The first phase doesn't build 497 of them. So
Right.
we're phasing it in, there's actually 7 phases in what is the master plan for the Choice Neighborhoods Grant. And so we're already working on the second phase. This is gonna have to move along quite briskly. And so the opportunity will be there for people to, over time, to move into those phases. So I think that, I'm trying to make sure I'm answering your question there.
Yeah,
I think what you're saying is, her question is, will everybody in College Hill have a shot?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
They also don't have to move off-site.
Right.
We spent a tremendous amount of time, and you may recall, with the city council, with the housing authority, and with the residents, and they were surveyed, and most recently surveyed this spring, to make sure of how many people wanted to stay, because we don't want to have to move anybody out of the west side during this whole process. That's why we're building the first phase of 230 units, and we're anticipating a second phase before the first buildings are coming down, and then people are going to be able to stay there. And so if they choose to, they only move once.
Yeah. I think the answer to your question is, yes, they can all move,
Yeah.
but it's staged, so phase 1 might be open to you, and phase 2 may be open to me, so,
Right.
so it may be, it's very possible, well, will be a staged approach so that everybody can't move at one time.
And I get that. I just wanna make sure that everybody that lives in the west side, if they say, I'm all for the new area, this is where I want to go, even though I know it's 40% that they're allowing, right?
That's just the first phase.
That's the first phase. So everybody, if everybody west side just say, well, yeah, we all gonna go to the new place, everybody gets a chance.
Yep.
That's all, that's what I was asking.
Okay.
Everybody gets
Exactly.
a chance to stay right there where they are if they choose to.
And that's fundamental to the design of the whole master plan.
Good.
The build first and making sure that we're building so everybody has that opportunity.
Right.
But they also get a choice, so that they may not all choose that, but everybody will have that opportunity.
Right.
And we're
then-
committed to that along with the housing authority and the city. Richard is here from the city. I failed to mention how instrumental the city is in this. One, with investment into this project, direct investment, and then two, with, I'm a relatively new citizen of Chattanooga in Hamilton County, but the presentation that was made that won the choice grant from Chattanooga was tremendously impressive to me and encouraging, because the mayor, everybody in the city, every department of the city, the housing authority, the philanthropic community was all around this, supporting this, and that's what helped us win it. But that is fundamental to the whole program.
Right, 'cause that's what our constituents ask.
Yes.
You know, usually new construction, new businesses move in, pushes
Yep.
them out.
Yep.
So they just wanna know, will they have an opportunity with all the support from the city and all the other agencies who prop them up, just like they're propping them up now? Will they be afforded the same situation when you all, a new
Yes.
construction come in?
Absolutely, and
Okay.
that is, it hasn't always been done that way.
Exactly.
And we're making sure that is the way it's done, we're held to that, and the housing authority and the city and all of us involved.
All right,
Great
Thank you.
discussion. Thank you for your. Any other questions or clarifications? I believe we have a motion, and I have no motion. You let me get through 30 minutes of discussion without a motion? I'm gonna bring you some tennis balls, and you can chunk it at me next time, okay? Okay, first of all, the Chair would entertain a resolution authorizing the issuance of these bonds. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor of the resolution authorizing these, revenue bonds, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, the, resolution passes. Our next item is a resolution ratifying action taken by the chair and secretary to execute the First Amendment of Agreement for payment in lieu of ad valorem taxes relating to the Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprises Milltown Project. So what you're doing in this resolution is ratifying, excuse me, I couldn't find the word, ratifying the action that the chairman took and the secretary in approving of this. So we would entertain a motion to approve the ratification action that has been taken.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
Do you want me to tell you what it involved? Well, this involved
They might change their mind if
they
you.
might change their mind. This is involving the C&E Milltown project, and there was an issue regarding the process for completion of a certain number of the units. We added one section here at the end of section 5CI in the original agreement, saying that the parties agree that 12 of the 34 units will be completed within 24 months after the EPA concludes its work on the underlying real property. There was a brownfield situation in connection with this property, and it was holding up some of the process. So that was the reason for the extension and the language that was added.
Okay. And just so you know, this is the old Stanacusa Thatcher property out off Dodge Avenue, okay? Which is really really nice. I was right that way. And I think that's really gonna be a huge improvement, and there's some really unique buildings out there.
Yes, sir.
So,
Trying to use some of the older buildings.
yes, exactly.
In a much needed area.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a proper motion and a second, a discussion on the ratification. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, the motion passes. The resolution was ratified. Is there any other business or any other item for discussion?
Guess the only thing your lawyer would put on the record here is that we did receive a new lawsuit yesterday involving a dispute over the, I guess, the McClellan apartments here in town, and it's based upon work that has been done because of water overflow in that area that they said they hadn't been paid for specifically. And we will engage in providing a defense for you if we need to.
And I'm gonna make an attempt at this, and you correct me.
Yes, sir.
The reason that they named us is because we hold title to the property. So it's really between the contractor and the developer and the lien holder, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So the person who did the work hasn't been paid, which should have happened, and so they're coming to us, and so.
Yeah, this group, Green Team Restoration, is a ServPro group that provided water displacement after the water went everywhere in this project.
Yeah.
And Heritage Land and Development is sued here, and the McClellan Apartments is sued, and a group called Arbor Multifamily Lending is sued. The only reason we're at it is because we have title at this point.
What is the amount of the,
Oh, it's 300,000 here plus another 100,000 punitive damages against the folks that were the lenders here, not against us in connection with this matter, and then an extra 100,000 added along. I don't usually look at the numbers too much. I want to make sure we got a good defense.
so we, in terms of exposure, we're way down the list?
You are, and this body is not exposed in that regard, nor are any of you as members of this board. Yes.
I think it would be fair to say, and you correct me if the terminology, that the only way that you can be held liable is if we don't act within the scope of what the board is
Engaged?
well,
Empowered by state law
empowered
to do.
by the statute, yeah. Okay, seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right before you
Go get that
leave,
card.
Maria, what's our next meeting date?
November 18th.
And do we have anything for that meeting?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay, if it's all possible that we cannot meet,
That'd be nice.
I will spare you a early Thanksgiving present. And so we'll make sure it's a priority. Then the meeting in December is what date?
16th.
16th, okay.
16 to 18, 18, 16.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you for meeting in this meeting after we adjourned the other day. Thank you.